It can be the greatest game in the world. If there are no people there to watch it, it becomes nothing.
Johnston. And a goal by Johnston. That makes it 2 by him.
We were magnificent. Magnificent.
Ralston. Oh, he's in. Henrik Larsson. That is sensational. Nakamura.
The game is over. The Rebels have won.
He's done it! Jarvis put it in, and without a doubt, the European Cup is on its way.
We'll never stop. We'll stop at half time, and we'll stop at the end of the game when we celebrate.
Oh well, here we go, guys. Another derby day in Glasgow.
Aye. Where do you begin, Paddy? Where do you begin with that one?
I'll just begin by thanking everybody that's been hanging on. I know we were a wee 5 minutes late starting there. Just a few things to tweak out before we get started. So everybody cheers that's been hanging on. So as we all know, the game's finished. 1 each, Celtic Park. Not the result we wanted, Anthony McGinty, but at the end of the day, mate, it'll do. But again, we're still sitting here disappointed by one each draw at Celtic Park.
That's definitely, but I think the way I've been feeling for a few days with this one is almost so long as you don't get beat, you don't want to get beat ever. So long as we didn't get beat, the outcome is always going to be 3 games to go, 6 or 9 points clear. The league's ours. I've no doubt about that at all. There's a lot to take from this game. For me, a few things from Celtic's perspective, a few things that we're missing that we need to address come the transfer window again, and a few things that we can't address but Scottish football needs to address because, yet again, referees' performances are absolutely honking. Let's call it what it is, shite. But overall in the piece for Celtic, nowhere near good enough. Mate,
I had a wee feeling that Brother Beaton would be a wee bit more lenient today, but I was massively wrong on that one. He was back to being his bastard self again. But listen, let's not dwell too much on him because we kind of half expected that was going to come. But on to the game, mate. I think I'm leaving that game and I'm disappointed. Number one reason was the fact that clearly we could have unofficially won the league today with a victory at Celtic Park in front of the fans. It didn't turn out to be that way. Obviously, the other mob started off complete control of the midfield again. It was almost like a carry-on for the Scottish Cup semi. We did not impose ourselves on the midfield at all, and for the first probably 15-20 minutes, mate, it was all them. Fortunately, nothing came of that. But then we started to grow into the game. Our front three was tricky enough, they were speedy enough, they were getting into the good areas, and it culminated in a goal which came from Maeda getting down the left-hand side, putting a good ball in, kind of low driven cross, and Jota, kind of similar to Abada's goal in the 3-0 game at Celtic Park, got in front of Barisic again was left standing still, and Jota managed to get in front of him and nip a goal, which was a brilliant start, absolutely brilliant start to the day. And I thought for that point, mate, we'd already started to gain momentum as a team, and I thought it was just going to go from strength to strength, but obviously wrong again. How did you feel with the lineup? First of all,
confident, happy. The only real change I would have made was Neil Beaton instead of either Hatate or Riley, and potentially Rogic for the other there. But generally, on the whole, happy to see Kyogo start, happy to see Jota and Maeda on the wings, and happy enough with the backline as almost a staple at the time of the lineup being announced. As I watched the game, it became more and more clear that midfield battle, we were completely devoid of a battle. Yet again, 2 games in a row, if not more, we've allowed them to control the midfield. They've controlled it through their pressing on us, harassing our players, getting in our faces, correctly and rightly so, as we did previously against them, and it's worked well for us. But they've got the benefit, I think, always that the referee allows a lot of their niggling play to kind of happen, and it allows it to disrupt our game. We need to be better than that. Our passing needs to be better. We actually need a stronger midfielder in there to actually win those battles a little bit more so it doesn't go against us. But yeah, 20 minutes goes by, you're starting to debate what's going on with the team, where we're going to get some kind of outball from. But then we get the goal and things change for us in that first half. I think that first half we were so much better after that goal. Going forward, we were a little more confident. We're getting the balls played in behind and so forth. And it was a good second half of the first half, I think.
Aye, well, the first half, mate, as I say, it was all them for the first maybe 15, 20 minutes. Again, it was like a continuation of the semi-final. They ran over the midfield. We struggled to get a foothold in it. We grew into the game. And I thought guys at the back, like Starfelt as well. Starfelt, I thought, defended really, really well. There was one pass kind of towards the end of the kind of mid to the end of the second half where he had a slack pass, but he managed to use his recovery pace well, get through the defender and get it out. So that was kind of smart. I thought guys like Taylor were good as well. But you look at the lineup, mate. So it was obviously Joe Hart in goal, settled back four apart from Juranovic, which was Greg Taylor left back, Starfelt, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Ralston, who we knew was going to come in for the injured Juranovic. And then the midfield was McGregor, Hatate, and O'Reilly and for Tom Roach. And the forward line was Maeda left, Jota right, and Kyogo through the centre. For me, mate, as soon as I saw the lineup and I saw Hatate was starting, I was just like, what do we need to do here to either give this guy a rest or change it up? It's, as I say, mate, he said it himself. He's come out in the media and says that he's absolutely shattered. You can see it after maybe 20 minutes in a game. He's starting to get leggy. His feet look heavy. His passes are heavy. He's not able to track back and kind of compete with that midfield, which allows them to use their physicality and their pace going forward. And if we've got a guy in the midfield who is either no up to fitness or is really, really struggling, blowing out his arse, that's almost like an extra man in midfield for them. And I just thought we really should have changed it, either for the starting lineup or early on. But that was easily Hatate's worst game for Celtic.
I wouldn't say actually his worst game, Paddy, but it's up there. I've seen him blowing at his arse a lot more. I've seen a lot more slack passes from him. But it's up there as one of the games that he's been an absolute empty jersey. And I don't say that to be hard on the guy, as some of the comments are kind of alluding to and agreeing with us. The guy's blowing at his arse. He's absolutely knackered. He's came out, as you said as well. He's had that interview translated where he's actually admitted he's done. He's exhausted. He's shattered. He's been playing for, what did he say, 15 months straight? And yeah, he had that kind of 3-week break at the January winter, kind of the end of December, start of January. That's great, but he's not had any real pre-season conditioning training to get him back up to speed. He's just been basically, here's a 3-week holiday, thrown back into the mix. And he's done great in large parts, but in also kind of too many noticeable games. He's been an empty jersey, and today was another empty jersey. I would have never started him. I would have played Beaton there instead. But it was quite clear within the first half he had to come off. Same with O'Reilly. No, not the same. Different reasoning for O'Reilly, but O'Reilly needed to come off as well. And it was for me, there were correct substitutions at the hour mark. O'Reilly offers so much silky kind of football, and he's touch and he's agile is superb. He's got this wave just gliding through, and his vision is fantastic. But you would never thought you would have said this about a Tom Roderick, but when you see O'Reilly, Tom Roderick actually offers a lot more strength and a lot more fluidity with the midfield to the attack. He can flick a ball along a lot quicker with a lot more direction, whereas maybe O'Reilly wants to take a wee second just to have a look and assess the lay of the land. That said, you look at his game, I think it was 2 games ago or whatever it was, he brings that ball down with the outside of his left foot where his leg bent backwards, sort of thing. His actual technical ability from O'Reilly is superb. But I think games like today, it needed Rogic, it needed Beyond instead of Hatate, instead of O'Reilly. Next season, we'll see the benefits of Hatate. I think Hatate's got it in him to be a bit of a combative midfielder, something that maybe we do want and need. He's not obviously going to be as strong as your Wanyama types, but I think he's got something in him to be a combative midfielder to help us. But we need to help him at this point in his time as well.
Aye. As Scott Cameron says in the comments, we should have been 3-0 up at half time. As I say, we did grow into the game after they had pretty much the lion's share of the first 15-20 minutes. And Jota was kind of pivotal to that. I thought he really did play outstanding towards the end of the second half. 100%. But you look at Maeda, right? Everybody knows what Maeda's qualities are. Maeda's qualities is his constant running. He's an absolute pest. He's a nuisance. The good thing about Maeda starting on the left-hand side is that he pegged in Tavernier. Tavernier doesn't get the freedom to kind of run up and down the right-hand side. But on the opposite side, Kent got a lot of freedom to run at Ralston. So when Celtic were starting to progress up the park, they eventually got the goal. You know, you had chances by Kyogo, I think one was offside, and then he had a sitter again over the bar, and then there was a cross for the right-hand side that came in for Jota, and again, we're sitting here at the end of the game, and we're going to talk about how we're having problems with being clinical in front of goal. And if we scored a couple of goals, I know that's saying fucking if your auntie had a should be your uncle, you know what I mean? But like the players that we've got, we need to start being more clinical. That could have been another game where we go into half time and it's 3-0 instead of 1-0, and they go in kind of with half a chance, you know what I mean? And again they came out and it was the same again, mate. They just came out and physically dominated the midfield, and it's something that we've got a massive problem with. I had no problems with O'Reilly coming in at the start because I think he's a big unit of a guy. He's got that kind of technical ability. He's got an eye for a pass. But when
I'll agree initially to that with O'Reilly, but I think it was definitely the right move to take him off for Rogic. I'm surprised Rogic didn't start, but at the same time, you can see technically O'Reilly is a fantastic player. So I wasn't surprised by O'Reilly starting. I think Paddy's just having a wee bit of a technical issue with his setup just now, so hopefully he'll be back. Yeah, Alan, I'm going to come to one of your comments just as it kind of leads me into what I was feeling during the game, and especially when it comes to Ralston. He did have a mare, and he wasn't offering enough for me. When you look at when the goal came was at 21st minute, Jota gets that goal when he's on the right-hand side. And straight after the goal, him and Maeda switched. And all of a sudden, Maeda goes missing for about 20 minutes until he switches again just before half-time. For me, Ralston is not offering near enough going down that right side. I think Abada helps a lot because Abada is so much more direct when he comes on. But for an overlapping supporting role, I don't think Ralston offers quite what we need at this level. For me, it needs to be Juranovic anytime he's fit to play there because Ralston just isn't capable, in my opinion. And this is not to slag Ralston too much. The guy's been absolutely fantastic this season, but I think we're starting to realise in games like today that Ralston on the right-hand side, he's not offering the support Paddy on the right side. I was just saying that once we got the goal from Jota at the 21st minute, Jota flips to the left and Maeda flips to the right. And Maeda, I don't think, touches the ball more than twice in the next 20 minutes on the right-hand side. He goes absolutely missing. He's got no support. All our play goes down the left. Jota comes into a great game, obviously. But Maeda, you see very little of him. The next time you see anything from him is when he's flipped back over to the left side again and he's harassing Bassi for the goal kick near the end of the first half. I think Ralston is definitely showing as much he's got all the aggression, the determination, the commitment and the passion in the world. He's just not offering enough to be the starting right back for Celtic. Then he gets booked in the second half. I could argue all day long how shite the ref was, but once he gets booked in that second half, he becomes so standoff to the point where I'm not blaming him for the goal. Overall, defensively, we were actually quite good in points defensively, but overall defensively, the whole defence takes a lot of stick. But that goal doesn't happen if Ralston's not booked, because Ralston normally would have got closer to those two Rangers players. But as soon as he's booked, he's getting nowhere near the Rangers players anymore, because he knows exactly what's about to happen. Either they get a shot off, or he gets too close and they get a penalty and he's sent off. So I think he probably does the right thing in that situation, knowing how the game is panning out. But it happens because he's a little bit timid at that point because he's been booked.
Again, that's what happens when you get booked and you're a defender, isn't it? Like, you've got to be very, very careful. But I think, like, I know Ralston didn't have the best of games, and I kind of tipped him to have a great game, which, again, right again. You look at the threat, there was a lot of threat coming down for their left-hand side, which was Kent. He was driving inside, and he was kind of dangerous against Celtic. But you look at the other side, and you've got Maeda. As I say, the beauty about Maeda's pace is that they've then got a fear to push Tavernier forward as much as he does usually get, because Maeda's got the pace to either run by or maybe somebody to get the touch in midfield and send him on his merry way. But again, it's another game where we need to look at our failings, if you want to call it that. And I know that's like I want each draw isn't a disaster.
I was just feeling that right just before you get into this, because we'll be on 16 minutes now. Before we go much further, and just you slightly touch on it there, it's a 1-1 draw, 3 games to go, 6 points clear. Was it 19 goal difference in our favour? Let's remember, before we get any further here, we are analysing this game as its own individual game. We were not good enough. But on the bigger picture, as the guys are saying in the comments down the side here, ole, fly the fucking flag. We are the champions again. Bring it on. With 3 games to go. 3 games to go against, was it Hearts, United and Motherwell? Motherwell, as pish as they have been, I mean, sneaking into the top 6, really, we're going to end this last game of this season against Motherwell with an absolute thrashing of them. But we're going to win that league long before that game shows up. It's a great day to get a 1-1 draw and go into the last few games here. However, back to analysing the game.
And there's Big Feed the Bear. We never lost the day. Come on, boys, heat up. The league is over. Mate,
exactly. Listen, let's remember this point.
I'm not sitting here by any stretch of imagination absolutely distraught or whatever. But listen, as it is, mate, we sit here, much as you guys will be doing as well. We'll be analysing today's game. Today was a day where we could have unofficially won the league. But there's a bit of worry here, because you look at last week's game, mate, in the semi-final, and it was the exact same. They overran us in midfield. They used their physicality. They weren't the greatest of midfield, as in like player-wise, technical-wise, but they did exactly what they had to do. They countered us. They pegged us back in. They stopped us from basically playing football in the middle of the park. And again, we're looking at a guy like Hatate, who's knackered. He's fucked. He's absolutely shattered, and he's still getting a game. So these are all worrying things. And another thing, I'm not trying to be too negative, but as you say, mate, we're analysing today's game. Like, today, as it stands, our team was probably barred maybe one player, and Juranovic was our strongest team that we've got now. That wasn't their strongest team. You know, they're missing guys like Morelos, Hadji, fucking Hollander bargain, and thank fuck they're missing them, because I think if the guys were in, then it could have possibly have been a different game. But as you say, mate, to get the positivity back to go, still a 1-1 draw. The points at the top remain the same between the two clubs. That is 3 games to go. It's our league to lose, which is still a great feeling, but it could have been better.
It could have been better. I wanted you to come into this podcast. Obviously, I missed quite a few podcasts, unfortunately. I want to get onto a lot more of them. But I wanted to come in here the day, knowing that I was coming on, knowing it was me and you, Paddy. God love Gavin, of course, but I knew it was just the two of us. I wanted to get a win under our belt so that we could just come in, you know, hit it hard and just be cheering on the champions and just bringing in love.
We'll still do that.
We'll still do that. It is there.
We'll still do it.
But the 1-1 draw, it's kind of, is the word subdued? Is that the correct word for it? Kind of a 1-1 draw. We know the league's still done. You know, we would need to lose 2 games out of the last 3 and still lose them by massive margins. We only need to win 1 game. Really. I mean, if we lost 2 games, we'd literally need to lose them like fucking, what is it, 5-0 each game, and they need to win each game 5-0 for it to go down to the last game of the season to be helicopter Sunday. I mean, it's ridiculously... A draw is not good for them. Put it this way, we are a little bit subdued just now. We're trying to analyse the game. We're trying to see where are we going forward. What do we need? Hatate needs a rest. What do we need? Maybe a combative midfielder. Left back is on the same level as Jurvanovic. We need certain things. We're taking a realistic approach here. Whereas they're looking at a 1-each draw and they're realising not as much as they played really well in that second half, helped by the referee, they'll go in to their little hidey holes and realise that a 1-each draw is still nowhere near good enough. Whereas we're like, could have been better. We'll analyse where our flaws are. We'll make sure we're better later on.
At best,
relieved not to lose. Exactly, Ewan. Relieved not to lose.
At best, mate, it's delayed a title party. But listen, as it stands, like, nothing is certain. You know, the fact there isn't sung yet. There's still football to be played, but I don't think anybody's sitting here thinking that we're going to fucking lose or anything. But aye, guys in the comments, you're right. It's a day for positivity. We're still top of the league. You know, we're 1 step closer to the league. But again, we would have loved to have done it at Celtic Park against that rotten mob. But for me, when you look at the start of the season, where we started to where we are now, it's obviously it's a great position that we've got ourselves into. But there's still a few kind of worrying signs. You know, that's obviously our main competitors that we're playing against. And there's a comment there that kind of sums it up. We'll just get it up. Kevin 14, how you doing, buddy? They have just figured out what works against us, but we still should have won. The league's over. Aye, they have exactly, Kevin. If you look at today's game, you look at the game in the semi-final, and even back to the game at Ibrox, our midfield has been pretty much non-existent. They've brought in guys like Lundstrom, who I personally, I don't think they're the greatest of footballers, but with the days they come in and they use the basics, and they get in and they rile our midfielders. All our midfielders are all about fancy touches and kind of tippy-tappy football and kind of fast movement. And they're bringing in guys to counter that, to kind of put the fit in and break up our play. So we need to. We're really going to need to up our levels, certainly for next season. But again, as it stands, it's 1 each, another closer to the title. We're almost there. Almost. We just need to get that over the line. I won't be happy until it's mathematically impossible. but again, mate, listen, McGinty, you know as well as I do, mate. You've been fucking watching football for as long as I have. Stranger things can happen. Strange things can happen.
Well, they can, and I can totally appreciate that. A lot of people still, even probably today, there's going to be a few people that are going to say mathematically impossible, as you just said. And still a little bit of nail biting. They'll want that next game, especially because it's against Hearts. You remember back to the the opening game of the season. We'll be biting nails a little bit that we need to get through that, because people will worry that if we get beat against Hearts and they win it the weekend, it goes to within 3 with 2 games to go, and all of a sudden Helicopter Sunday starts to tick in again. I get that apprehension. However, for about 3 weeks, for me, the league's done. I'll admit it. The league's been done for a few weeks now. They know it's been done. They set up to play like it's been done. They know they've got nothing to lose, sort of thing. So, yeah. Yeah. It's
big feed the verses there. It would have been great, mate, but I genuinely think the Japanese boys need a rest. They've played their heart out. They have arrived, and Big Joe Hart is the best signing we have in years. I absolutely
totally agree.
You can't disagree with the quality these guys have brought. But again, for us, for a certain point in this season, McGinty, it's been a sprint because we've had to play catch up and get into a position where we're winning. And as everybody knows, this has been the transitional season for Celtic.
The rebuild.
The rebuild. Postecoglou's come into the fold very, very late on after the Eddie Howe debacle. We've had to bring in 12 new players. We've had to get into a place where we bring in some stability, and it's got us into a position where we're literally on the brink of being league champions. And I know we can't play to the same kind of tempo, the same speed, the same fitness at every single game. But that's what we've been doing, and that's what Feed the Bear says. That the Japanese boys need a rest.
Aye.
Again,
can I say on that,
please.
as you're saying, we can't do it high tempo all the time. In comparison to under Neil Lennon and specifically under Brendan Rodgers.
Cheers, you and boy.
I take nothing, Joe Jones. I will give a shout out next week on Lax. Go for it, mate. Go for it. But I can honestly say watching Ange Postecoglou's Celtic games is so much better than watching a Brendan Rodgers team. And I know that we won quadruple triples. I know we went invincible and all this. I'm not taking anything at all away from any of these teams. It's all one big Celtic team at the end of the day. However, when you watched a Brendan Rodgers game, especially in the latter half of his tenure with us, the passing the ball around the back was mind-numbing at times. You were shouting at the team to fucking move forward with it, to do something with it. Now, I appreciate that we can't do 100% full throttle every game, and we saw it for quite a while throughout December and into the start of January. We saw it and we got the lead. But since then, as we were saying about the Japanese boys and the rest of them, they're burnt out, yet they're still giving it their all.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, we can't do 100% full throttle all the time. But see, when it comes to the points where we are, taking a step back, passing it back to Joe Hart, passing it forward to Vickers, who passes it sideways to Starfelt, who then passes it to Taylor, that's the end of the passing sideways points. We then do look forward and try to move the ball forward. Whereas under Brendan Rodgers and Neil Lennon, that pass would have happened about 10 times in our own half, right on the edge of the centre line, but in our own half, we would happily pass that ball around looking for possession. And I'll give you a stat just now. Ball possession in that game that we've just played, that we drew one each, and we looked burnt out and spent on our arse, 51% in our favour while we were getting kicked off the park. We still had ball possession against the next best team in the league. So we can still do ball possession and still not have to play around the back all the time. Still try to find something in the final third. Try and move the ball forward, which is what we see under an Ange Postecoglou team, which is great. And I'm going to keep looking forward to next season, because all these guys who are burnt out and spent, the Japanese boys, like McGregor's played yet again 60-plus games this season, they're all needing a rest, but they're still giving their all, and we're still 3 games to go, 6 points clear, bring on the league title.
And that's, of course, that's what I've got to keep in mind. 3 games left to go. We're still very well ahead, goal difference, points as well. But, for me, mate, it just comes with a wee bit of, I don't want to say negativity, but it's a kind of wee slap in the face, because that's the team that we need to beat. And they've came to our stadium on a day when it was all set up for us to go out there and play beautiful football. They're missing so many players. We are the informed team, and they come to Celtic Park, mate, and they dominate for the majority of the game. As I say, sliding doors, it could have been different if Maeda took his chances, if Kyogo took his chances. That's all well and good, but then you come out for the second half, mate, and you don't even get as much as a shot on target against McGregor, which is, for me, it's piss poor. We talk about Hatate, we talk about Kyogo. Ange has been pretty good with subs in terms of timing it, for me personally. He waited to about 59 minutes and then he brought on Rogic for Hatate. Jackie Marcus came on for the goal threat. Kyogo ran himself into the ground. His pressing was excellent. And I know kind of off the boil in terms of goal scoring, but he was trying like fuck, and you can't fault that, mate. That's all you ask for and your players is that they try. But listen, again, it's one of the days where you ask for more. It could have been this, could have been that, but we've still got a one each straw. Still on the charge for the title. Almost there, mate. We're going to fucking get it. We're going to get it. Let's go.
I'm going to bring this one up. Gillian Todd, fair play. Actually, fair play, and cheers. Thanks for that. Respect that you can come on to a podcast and have a wee comment like that. Everything is all hunky-dory. At the end of the day, it is just football. So let's nobody fall out over anything. But yeah, as you were saying, Paddy. On you go. Continue. Sorry. I feel like I interrupted.
No, you battering, mate. You battering.
No, it's just I've tried to pick up where we were. Yeah, I just want to keep looking forward.
There's Derek coming in. I know, mate. I know we're maybe coming across a wee bit kind of downhearted, but
exactly. Trust the process.
It's probably a wee bit just because. Not that I was expecting a win, but I thought that we could have went out there and won today, mate. And there was parts of our play that really could have been a lot better. But
exactly.
But
just to bring it back, I think we're about to bring Gavin in as well.
Yes,
as I bring Gavin in, I'll just address the comment there about that. Just to say that so far, Gavin, welcome to the stream as Paddy bows out just for a brief moment. We've had a good discussion. We're kind of looking forward. Yeah, we've kind of been looking where we can improve going forward rather than the joyous celebrations. But we just want to highlight again to some of the viewers. At the end of the day, no matter what happened today, we're still 6 points clear, 3 games to go. We're champions at the end of the day here. We're going to win this league. Let's not lose focus on that. But taking today as an isolation as a game, we could have been so much better. How did you feel, Gavin, while you were at Celtic Park watching this game?
Yeah, one of the words that you actually used when I was driving home and I had the podcast on, and you used the word subdued, and I think that's quite a fitting word. On one hand, I'm over the moon because we're pretty much champions. Like it's nigh on.
It's there, yeah.
It's almost nigh on impossible that they could actually retrieve the situation that they're in right now. It's pretty much a foregone conclusion. So on one hand, if we take it back to where we were at the start of the season, I'm completely over the moon, man. And everybody deserves a huge pat on the back. Even some of the Japanese boys are getting a wee bit of flack because they're so tired. But I think we're all smart enough, intelligent enough to kind of realise that they've already played a full season in Japan and then they're coming over here to help galvanise us, which they have done for most part. So on one hand, I'm super happy, super chuffed. Everybody deserves a lot of congratulations. However, on the other hand, today in isolation, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed with the result. I'm disappointed with the performance. I was actually going into the game and I was thinking there were so many factors in our favour today with the amount of injuries that Rangers have had. Obviously, their talisman, Morelos, I don't need to go through the full injuries that they had. But on top of that, they're apparently tired, because they've been playing in Europe. But we saw in the cup final that didn't really affect them. And again today we're at Parkhead. We've got the crowd behind us, and it was that kind of that feeling in the air of the party atmosphere. So there were so many things in our favour today, and I was thinking if we can't beat Rangers today with everything, so many things in our favour, then it's going to throw up a lot of question marks. So today in isolation, quite disappointing with the performance. I don't want to be overly negative. I know that you guys have been kind of trying to keep it in perspective. And I don't want to be the negative Nancy who joins the podcast and everybody's like, who the fuck is this guy? But aye. On one hand, very, very happy overall over the course of the year. We've been fantastic. And the league table doesn't lie. However, today in isolation, it's a Celtic and Rangers game at Parkhead, and it's disappointing to come away with a point. Yeah.
Gav, you were at the game. What was the kind of atmosphere with the supporters? What was the chit chat? How were the guys feeling in the crowd?
Can I just say that I know that I might be coming across as a wee bit negative, and I'll try and kind of rein myself in a wee bit. But what he kind of pay tribute to the North Cove, the Green Brigade, because there was times when the Celtic fans, the crowd, were getting on the team's back, and that was just reactive because of the performance and the way that Rangers were getting back into the game. But first off, the tifos at the start of the game were magnificent. Again, very creative, artistic, so fair play to them. But even during the game, whenever you felt inclined to go on the team's back, it was the North Cove, the Green Brigade, who started the chanting, and they kind of made you realise, here, we're almost going to win the league. Let's try to kind of rein ourselves and keep it in perspective. So they kind of centred the mood of the crowd. They kind of reminded us, here, let's not be too overly negative. So I thought that they did well as the cheerleaders. However, the crowd at times, they were getting on the team's back. Unfortunately, Hatate was I'm not saying he's becoming the fall guy, and it's not his fault because you guys highlighted it. Ange is the one who's picking the team. If he's going to pick Hatate, where on evidence he's looking tired, then why should we be criticising Hatate? You know what I mean? Let's try and be logical about this.
Exactly. Now, as you bring that in, Gavin, I want to firstly point out the comment that we just highlighted there. It's a nice enough comment to highlight and say, well, Hatate, he has played 15 months back-to-back consecutively. He had about 3 weeks of a holiday at best. He's not had any pre-season conditioning training to kind of get him up to speed or anything. He's been go, a little bit of a break, go. He's done superb. It's not his fault that he's getting picked while he's exhausted, fatigued. He's had that interview about 2 weeks ago where he's came out and admitted, I am done. He's admitted he's exhausted, he's lethargic and all the rest of it. He does need a break. We're so close to the end, and the way that Ange is playing, he obviously clearly wants to play Hatate. He obviously clearly loves the guy, along with Maeda, along with Kyogo, and along with everybody else that he signed as well. He wants to play him and he wants to see him do well. I get that. And so long as we get the title at the end of the season, which we're going to get it, so be it. But he needs a break. He desperately needs a break, and that will come with him in time. What I want to highlight, though, just aside from Hatate, and it kind of touches on it a little bit, but changes the conversation, he seems to be quite fixated on when to give players a rest and when to bring players into the fold. It seems almost like, he's willing to change games like 3 subs at the 60-minute mark. Brilliant, absolutely fantastic subs to make at that time. I think they were all correct subs. But certain things like not dropping Hatate, not bringing Julian back into the team, not bringing Turnbull back into the team. Where are these guys? Why is Hatate not getting a rest? Why is Turnbull, now that he's back, he's been back for weeks. Julian's been back for a couple of months, but they're not getting into the team. It seems like he's very keen to keep a settled side and let this side see it through. And I don't mean that negatively. I'm just aware that certain things aren't happening, i.e. Julian and Turnbull getting back into the squad or Hatate getting a drop because maybe just seen out the season.
I would kind of kibosh any thoughts or aspirations to change up the defence. I know that we're talking about Julian. Julian is, I don't know, a bit of a mystery now. But Starfelt, no, I would never drop Starfelt. And Cameron Carter-Vickers, he's a steady Eddie, slowly and easy. So I would
absolutely.
never...
Who do you drop for Julian? Who do you drop? I would not drop either of them for Julian at this point in time because why disrupt that?
Personally, my favourite, just to say, of course, I've not watched the game, so I've not had it from the vantage point of the camera angles that the Sky offer and the replays and stuff like that. But for me, Starfelt was my man of the match. And I also want to point out that Jota, I think that Jota in the Glasgow derbies this season has not had much change from Tavernier. I don't think he's had much impact. But today, I thought Jota did very well. I'm happy with his performance. Aye. Guys, what did you think of the referee? Because as I said, I never saw much of the replay, but one particular incident which fucking really pissed me off.
Somebody tell me, how does literally pushing a player and then pushing another player in the same move, the same attacking move, how does Rangers players get away with pushing 2 of our players, separate incidents but within the same attacking move, and doesn't even get a foul, let alone a bookable offence? Yet, as soon as we get anywhere close to their players, foul, yellow card, whatever. Giamacca's, how many times did he have Golson or Bassi 2 arms around him and actually went a foul against Giamacca's? What the fuck? Giamacca's got a foul against him, and the replay showed, and I'd love to see another replay because something must have happened just before this. But Giamacca's gave away a free kick just on the edge of the 6-yard box when the ball was coming in for what the commentator first says was a tug, and then a push, complete opposite things. And then the replay actually showed that it was Bassi into Golson, I think it was, that took each other out. And that was a foul against Giamacca's. The referee, I mean, everything I've said so far, I've tried to keep it civil to some degree. But the referee, yet again, was shocking.
Well, can I bring up one incident? So, McGinty, Woody had actually texted me during the game to say that beating John Beaton's fouling our players. So I need to see that back. I missed that. But remember the Starfield one where Starfield made a great tackle in defence, and then he just went on a rampage and run and eventually got brought down by Goldson. Now, from me and everybody in the crowd, we were all raging at that. We thought it was a nail-on yellow card. How did Goldson get away with that?
Lord knows. Goldson eventually gets booked, by the way. What did he get booked for? He get booked for shoving right at the end. Right at the end, he gets booked for a shove. And the referee turns around and goes, I need to give you a yellow card eventually. And Goldson actually comes up to the referee and says, what are you doing? And I'm reading as best I can. He says, what are you doing? How's that a foul? How's that a yellow card? And Goldson points over to 2 different incidents. And in my head, I'm thinking Golson's turning around and go, I shoved him there and I shoved him there, but you didn't give out a foul. What you doing? And the ref just basically turned away and says nothing to him. Golson comes back and does this and says a few other things to him. He takes his hands away, and Golson, I don't need to be a lip reader to see what Golson says. Golson argues again after being booked, which if you're arguing a ref, that's a yellow card in itself. After he got booked, and then says to the ref, fuck off. And it doesn't get a second yellow card for that. I've seen Celtic players get second yellow cards for exactly that fucking thing.
If Golson get the yellow carded for that shit on Starfield, it's the same. Then he wouldn't have been fucking cuddling Giakoumakis for the rest of the game. And it's the same thing. Same thing about Lundstrom in the semi final with Bobby Madden. If he booked Lundstrom whenever it was deserved, then he wouldn't have carte blanche to fucking do his fucking a license to kill for the rest of the game. You know what I mean? Didn't he be just a yellow card when it's deserved to be a yellow card? Don't give him license to fucking.
That brings us back to the point, Gavin, that I made earlier on about Tony Ralston, and I mean this with so much respect to Ralston because he's been so fucking good this season. But as soon as Ralston got that yellow card, he stands off his opponents. And him standing off his opponents meant that 2 Rangers players at the kind of edge corner of the 18-yard box were allowed to pass the ball between each other and then get the goal. Starfelt was absolutely superb today. And it has been so many times throughout the season. Starfelt has been literally getting criticised by some quarters because of his early season shaky moments. Paddy, hands up there. I'll agree with you. Hands up as well. I mean, you had so many conversations about Starfelt getting turned onto his wrong foot and being played on the wrong side of the back 2, left side, right side sort of thing. Since those early days, once he's been settled, especially once Carter Vickers came in, what a partnership. I don't think we've lost a domestic game apart from the semi-final with those series.
See when you're talking about Carter Vickers there, right? You look at our defence, right? And I'm specifically talking about the 2 guys at centre-back. The 2 guys at centre-back have built up a great rapport, a great partnership. One knows where each one's running. Carter Vickers is the guy that you saw today. Gav, you'd have seen it in the game. Carter Vickers was getting stuck in. He wasn't flying into tackles. He wasn't dragging guys out the road. He was using his physicality, as a defender should. He was getting in front of the ball. Excuse me. He was pushing guys out the road. He was giving them the old shoulder barge legally. Starfelt was the kind of... Excuse me, sorry, I've just had a beer. Starfelt was the guy who was the kind of covering defender, which is the good yin and yang to a centre-back pair. A big strong cunt and a fast cunt who's good on the ball. And bar one really, really bad pass for Starfelt, which he actually managed to make his aim way out of trouble with his recovering pace. I thought the 2 of them were really, really good. You take that kind of physicality into the midfield, right? We've not got that. And that's something that they've identified that they can use their momentum on. As I say, they bring in shite guys like Lundstrom, Steve Davis, who's fucking about 45-year-old, and they go in and they stick the boot in. And by the way, listen, I'm just going to fucking say this right before I stop myself. They actually really played really well today. All credit to them. They did what they had today. They should have won, but then again, we should have won. We could have been 3-0 up. They could have been 2-1 up. Do you know what I mean? If it wasn't for fucking this and that, but that's just the way football goes. But we're going to need to bring something into our midfield. And I thought Beaton should have come on at some point. I actually said to McGinty as well during the game that I would have been happy with James McCarthy to come on and go in and try and stick. Listen. I know he's not everybody's flavour of tea, right? But he's a guy that can at least come in, stick his foot in, and try and dictate the midfield. We've got McGregor sitting the furthest back. He's like your kind of quarterback guy. But he's having to do the role of three guys. He's having to go in, he's having to stick the boot in, he's having to cover, he's having to take the ball for defence. So a lot of responsibilities going on to McGregor. And you've got a guy like Hatate. And again, I'm not having a personal go at Hatate, but today it was abysmal. That's the worst game I've ever seen from him. And you can tell that the guy's fucking shattered. He shouldn't be playing. So when Hatate's playing in that midfield, where the game can be won or lost against him, and you've got a guy who's absolutely knackered and is bringing nothing to the game, it's almost like an extra man in midfield for him, and that's what you saw. So McGregor's having to cover fucking 2, 3, 4, 5 positions in midfield. We need to sort this out, because all it takes is for them to bring on a couple of guys who are going to go in and shove the boot in. They're going to stick a knife in, stick a boot in, whatever it fucking hatchet, whatever it is. They've found a way to stifle our creative midfield.
100%, Paddy, agree with exactly what we need there. Exactly that. But for me, it's not McCarthy. McCarthy's shown this. I'm not saying it's McCarthy, but I'm talking about today in isolation. 100%. We should have. I
would have brought a cunt for the crowd on in place of Hatate today. He would have probably done better. And again, that's not me having a personal dig at Hatate. That's me saying that the guy was not in either the right frame of mind or the right fucking fitness. That one's on Postecoglou. That's a bad call for him. Again, I was happy to see O'Reilly playing, but you can't play a guy who's actually physically telling you, I'm fucked, and then play him, and the guy shows the world that he's fucked, and you'll be able to say it against the manager. It's a bad call. And it was the same again last week, but that's what I'm saying. The semi-final, they ran away with the midfield. The game at Ibrox, they ran away with the midfield. Today was a game where we didn't have anything to lose. We should have been able to go out and rampage all the top of them. They're missing players. All we need to do is win. We've got the fans in almost full attendance. We've got the sun shining on our back, and we had to go out there and play nice, lovely, fucking beautiful, expansive football. But we lost the midfield, and everything today came through the midfield. That's how they managed to get a goal back. That's how they managed to run all the tappies for the first 5-10 minutes. That's how they managed to fucking kind of stifle the set half as well.
I completely agree there, and to try and keep the focus on the game today and talk about the game today without getting too kind of the ref was shite and kind of not conspiracy, but we know the refs are shite. We know how much fucking beating let them away with shite. But in the grand scheme of things, let's look at today. Let's look at where our downfalls were, where we didn't do enough to win the game, regardless of what else happened. Our midfield battle, we were not ready for it yet again. We're missing a combative midfielder. I do believe Hatate could be that come next season, but as we've said already, and you've said just now, Paddy, he needs rested. The guy's admitted himself, he's exhausted, he needs rested. And for me, our left back and right back positions, I absolutely love Ralston. I love Taylor. I think both of them give everything for the cause. But technically speaking, they're not good enough at the level that we want to be at. Josip Juranovic is. We need the equivalent on the left, and we need a combative midfielder ready to go.
By the way, guys, sorry, Gav, just before you come in, I know you're desperate to get in there. I just want to add a wee bit in. We've got 283 guys watching, 283 people watching just now. So if you've not done it already, give us a wee like and a follow on the old YouTube because
guys, aye, absolutely fantastic. The viewership of this episode, I expected it to be a big one because of the time of year and the game that we just played, but that's absolutely fantastic. Definitely give us a share, give us a follow, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, get it on your Twitters and all the rest of it if you can. If you don't already subscribe, please do, because the viewership is superb and we love every single comment that's coming in.
And there's sorry Gav, again, just to touch up on this one. Liar about P-Bomb, John Joy's podcast. There's no conspiracy against the team from the refs. The refs are bad, yes. Stop blaming them. Well,
the refs are bad, but they're also biased.
But you've kind of contradicted yourself.
You can be both.
You've kind of contradicted yourself there because you say that the refs are bad. Stop blaming them. But we're not putting this down to solely referee performance. The referee was a fucking disgrace. There's no denying that whatsoever. But we have also sat here for the last 45 minutes as well and said that some of our players were not good enough. So today we're not sitting here saying, "Oh, we've lost a win because of John Beaton." No. We're saying the players in combination with the referee as well as our bad performance is an issue that we're going to speak about. But at the end of the day, still one each. We're still in the hunt for the title. So
I just a couple of things, and I don't know how to. I'll try and read myself in here.
I think Gavin's got about 5 conversations in his head right now. He's like, what?
Aye. So going back to the last guy who was talking about the referees, I'm not disagreeing with you. What I will say about the referees is that there's a distinction between incompetence and bias against them. Celtic, I know that in some quarters of being a Celtic fan, there is a bit of peer pressure to say that always every time a decision goes against you as a Celtic fan, then there is a bit of peer pressure to blame it on bias, and sometimes we need to be aware that it's just a lot of times it's incompetence. So I don't like always gravitating towards that. But it's always bias, so I don't want to always have a chip on my shoulder for my full lifetime as a Celtic fan. Although there's enough evidence to suggest that no smoke without fire. At the same time, I don't always gravitate towards that argument. And again, the thing that you said about Hatate, about combative midfielder that he will be, that we hope he will be for next season. Yeah, I think you're right. This season, it's unfortunate that Ange is persisting with him. Ange, we trust. Ange knows better than me, of course. But he's got the analytical data, which suggests whenever you should take someone out of the firing line. So whatever that data says, but in comparison and contrasting with what I see with my own eyes tell me that Hatate is struggling. So we've got a lot of options right now. Of course, I think with a proper rest, Hatate will see the full potential of what he will bring to the table for next season. But we've got 3 games left in this season. You've got a lot of options. You've got Beaton, you've got Itaguchi, we've got Turnbull who's coming back as well, and you've got O'Reilly too. So a lot of options to play in the midfield. It's just a wee bit unfortunate that we are still persisting with Hatate, and I don't want people to go overboard with the criticism for Hatate. But I would imagine that a lot of the commenters that we get in our podcast, they're very smart fans. They're not too kind of gung ho and angry all the time. So I think a lot of the viewers recognise that Hatate is just tired and they're knocking on his back. But just speaking from my own testimony today in the crowd, a lot of people were kind of getting angry at that. But what else was I going to say? So in the first half, went on a half time, and a lot of people were saying it should have been 3-0 up. So I never saw the replays of this, but the Kyogo chance where I think he was played in from the left and it looked as if he skied it over the bar, and the other one with Maeda where he went in for a header, I think McGregor, the goalkeeper, was on rushing, and at that point, from the way that I was looking at it, it looked like Maeda shat himself. So tell me if I'm wrong. So was it a bad miss from Kyogo, and did Maeda shite himself?
I'm trying to remember that Maeda one exactly. I thought you were going to say the Jota header. At first, I'm trying to remember the.
Must have been Jota then. I'm sorry. Must have been Jota.
Jota does the header where it goes over.
Right. Okay.
And he just for that one for Jota, he just doesn't get the height to control it downwards, but he gets his position right. That's one where the ball comes from the right hand side and Jota's in the middle. The Maeda one, I'm trying to remember if I can remember it, but it's eluding me just now.
It was a minute or two right after the Kyogo one where he skied it over the bar. I thought it looked like Maeda who went in for a header, and he pulled out at the last moment because McGregor was confronting him. That's what I thought anyway. Aye, but was the Kyogo one, was it a bad miss, from the replays?
No.
There was two, mate. There was one for Kyogo, and the one for Maeda was even worse. But again, that's like, we're not sitting here trying to single out anybody and say that this guy was so bad or that guy was terrible. But when you look at the scoreline is the only thing that matters today, right? And it's one each. But had Maeda been more clinical, there was one cross come in, Gav, for the right-hand side, and Maeda's got past the man, and he's went to header it, and McGregor's come out at the same time, and Maeda's totally shot himself, and he's actually stuck his neck back in. They were actually talking about it on a TV, mate. Fucking Ali McCoy's, who I hate to fucking actually reference here, said it was almost like a tortoise. But he did say that all strikers have done something like that at one stage in their career. So I'm not going to be too harsh on Maeda, because at the end of the day, mate, he was getting himself into great positions. But when Maeda's getting we're pretty much we've won the league. So have you guys got a beer or what? Yes.
As Father Dougal said, we're all going to heaven, boys. We're all going to heaven.
I've just looked at a few comments. I know I'll try and bring up some in a wee second, but there's a couple of guys there. I don't know which way they swing, but they're saying that the referee basically wasn't an issue today. Again, we're not sitting here saying, wow, we're absolutely gutted because the referee cost us the game. Well, no, we're commenting on the game, and the referee was fucking pish. But as we all know who the referee was John Beaton, and he's a fucking scummy, cheating bastard. So if you don't like it, fuck off.
I take it you heard from the crowd. The crowd were singing a chant towards Beaton during the game.
Yes.
Yeah. Started with O and B. That was the initials.
There's a question there, guys. We'll try and go into a wee bit of positivity here. I'll try and find it. But the question was, who was Celtic's best player today? So batter and tell us away what you think.
For me, I would say Starfelt, but I would also say that Jota had his best game that I've seen him had against the Rangers. I thought Taylor was fairly dependable, and Cameron Carter-Vickers, of course, he was as usual. So for me, Starfelt.
Yeah,
David Neary wasn't asked the question. Sorry, David.
Somebody else mentioned the comments. I've seen a couple come up with Jota and Starfelt there. But somebody mentioned earlier on Jota was their man of the match, and it's actually quite a good shout. But defensively, maybe it's because I know that he gets a hard time, but Starfelt, for me, I'd have to agree with you, Gav. Starfelt has been an absolute solid defender all season, minus his first 2 or 3 games where I've admitted that me and Parry have had conversations where we've been like, what the fuck is this guy all about? He gets turned on the wrong side. His clearances, his slide tackles in the first 2 games were very questionable, and we're wondering how one-footed the guy was. And he probably is quite one-footed. But since Carter-Vickers has came in, and maybe Carter-Vickers should get Player of the Year for this, Carter-Vickers and Starfelt has performed a fucking superb defensive partnership. One of the best I've seen in a long, long time. And you'd have to go back to Van Dijk and Denier to the point to see a good partnership in the centre-back position. And even then, we all know that was because Van Dijk was so fucking good.
So sorry, Megan, I'm just going to bring this one up because it's a fucking absolute moron. Thomas Wilson with his wee Rangers badge on. Crazy to say that the referees against Celtic when you just get everything that's going. Celtic fans can't cope with defeat. By the way, we never get beat today, you prick. So then they just make up every excuse that they can. Once VAR comes in, yous are finished. Aye. That'll be right, the fucking nugget.
Aye.
Once VAR
comes in, we'll realise that how many handballs you get away with and how many pushes on the back that Golson gets away with, to the point that Golson actually turned around to the referee and says, but I got away with it twice over there. What do you mean I'm getting booked now?
But,
the referee today was shit.
But thanks very much for Thomas Wilson to come on to a podcast when we're sitting here ready to celebrate
Who's obsessed?
title. Cheers, pal. Thank you. Fuck off.
Anyway, let's not give that lot any more time than they have to. Back to the point.
No, he's all welcome. He's all welcome.
Yeah, but I would like to turn the conversation at the point where we're at just now, where we know we're winning the title. We know it's in the bag. 6 games.
Yes! Yes!
6 points. 6 points. 3 games to go. Where does Celtic go forward at this point? I think collectively we can start to look forward to the summer and the next season now. So where do we go forward, guys?
Okay, well, can I pick up the baton here for this one? Good question, McGinty. One thing is, between now and the remaining 3 games, what do we do? Do we change personnel? I think the question that you're alluding to is the bigger kind of resolution of where do we go for next season. So the elephant in the room here is the 2 lone players, Jota and Cameron Carter-Vickers. Jota got man of the match, and Cameron Carter-Vickers has got player of the season. In our eyes, it's still to be announced, but I think that's the one name on everyone's lips. If those 2 guys leave us, if they have other ambitions, without criticising them, if they do, then that's going to curtail our progress to a certain extent. That sounds a lot like Hugh Keevins. I apologise for that jargon, but that's going to be kind of a little bit difficult to recover, because we've been building up at a steam, and our trajectory in terms of comparison to Rangers, ours has been very, very positive. And Paddy, hi, how are you? I think that if you were to take Cameron Carter-Vickers and Jota out, it's going to be slightly difficult to replace. And what I'm just saying is the steam that we're building up, the momentum for next season, with the familiarity that all the players have, the starting 11, that is going to be dented, that familiarity, if we have to bring in 2 new players. Obviously, a starting centre-back, he's going to have to hit the ground running, especially if we go into the Champions League. And a flair player, which Jota has been providing. I know that Maeda is a different type of player, but Jota provides something unique in our starting 11, and that'll be hard to replace as well. So that's my main concern, the elephant in the room, the 2 lone players. If they do move on, how it will be difficult to replace them. Aye.
Just before I answer that one, mate, just a wee comment aside that I'm going to bring up. Joe Curran, a wee shout out from my grandson, Team St Peters, who won the league here. So congratulations to your wee grandson, Joe. Well done, mate.
Well done.
Of course, mate, listen, we've built a team this season who is on course to go and win the league. They've already won a cup. Unfortunately, they never won a treble, but as we all know, it's a very hard thing to do. But
what was it the Meatloaf said? Was it Meatloaf who said 2 out of 3 ain't bad?
2 out of 3 ain't bad, mate. Aye. Aye, definitely. But listen, we've done well, whatever it is. But if we get guys who wish to go somewhere else or move on, we'll deal with it. We've lost better. We will lose better. So, but I think the main thing for me today, mate, was, for me, talking about Jota, I thought Jota had a great performance today. He was back. He looked as if he was enjoying his football. He was trying the old kind of moves to fucking titillate the fans. So that was great to see a performance of him today. But again, I'm really trying not to be negative, because it's not a bad day. It really isn't a bad day. It's just it's disappointing that we didn't go out and get the win, because we could have essentially fucking won the league today. Maybe not mathematically, but fucking really. But listen, we'll plod on. We'll do what we're going to do. We'll go out. We'll try our hardest against Hearts. They're going to be concentrating on a Scottish Cup final. We're going to be concentrating on the league. Hopefully, we have a wee bit of rotation, because we've spoke about it fucking plenty today. Hatate absolutely looks knackered. We can easily bring in Beaton, a Turnbull, McCarthy even. I know you're laughing because you're just fucking wanting the belly in every single position, but it's not happening. Right? No, listen, I know McCarthy.
The belly is probably out the picture at this point. I've been the champ.
But McCarthy's a centre. Mate, McCarthy's a centre mid. He's sitting on the bench, so there's no reason not to suggest that he couldn't get him on.
But then so Beaton sitting on the bench and Turnbull. So
but that's what I'm saying. You can bring on any three of them. You know what I mean? You could put Turnbull on as the kind of the top of the pyramid in that front three. You could bring on Beaton or you could bring on McCarthy. It's either or. They're there to be picked. They can be played. Especially when you've got a guy like Hatate who is fucking obviously absolutely knackered. But that is what it is. That's down to Ange's pick. He's obviously consulting with Anton Macalone, and the two of them are saying that he's raring to go. And I'm pretty sure Hatate himself is saying I can play. So, you know what I mean? Hatate's going to take a wee kind of share of the blame. But again, today's no a day for sitting here in total despair. There's things that could have went better. There's things that we need to work upon. There's things that we really need to kind of look at in the forefront going into next season. But whatever happened, we never got beat today. They had to win. They didn't win. We had to not lose. We never lost.
Why the fucking
so we're
flag?
still getting there. The fucking flag, mate. The fucking flag's getting fucking the brasso on the top of it. Ready to be eaten.
McGinty, to throw your original question back to you. So if you're trying to anticipate the changes, or even better, what changes would you like to see in the squad in terms of recruitment? What even background stuff. But my kind of answer to your question was the elephant in the room: Cameron Carter, Vickers, and Jota. How much that will derail us if they choose to leave. So what changes would you like to see in the squad? I don't know if it's probably harsh just to look at it today and see the flaws, because there was flaws today. But even over the course of the season and where we're heading, what changes would you like to see in terms of the personnel for next season, and especially for the Champions League coming up?
So for me, let's assume that we keep everybody that's currently at the squad at the club. So Jota and Carter Vickers, the two obvious ones. Let's assume we try and keep them. If we don't, we definitely need to replace them with the similar caliber, if not better. But let's assume we keep them. We need a left back of the quality of Josip, and we need a centre midfielder who maybe not quite Victor Wanyama, but somebody who's built like a shipwreck house, and somebody who's going to sit there and be the master of the fucking team. Just somebody who's going to soak up all the shit and not take any crap. But should Carter Vickers leave? Yeah, we need to replace Carter Vickers. I brought up I think it was Frank that made the comment earlier that said about basically we need a new defender even if Carter Vickers leaves.
Yes.
Even if Carter Vickers stays, we need a new defender. I disagree with that. I think Carter Vickers, Starfelt, Julian, 3 quality centre-backs. Julian's not getting a picture in just now, but let's see what happens. If Julian leaves, I'll go back to what I said a minute ago. Assume everybody stays. But if Julian leaves, yes, we need to replace Julian. Is Welsh good enough? Probably not. But I feel like your boy Bolson Lawal is about to step up and replace Welsh. And I think if you've got an on-fire Carter Vickers, Starfelt and Julian with one or the other of Welsh or Lawal playing as fourth choice, I don't think we need another centre-back. I think that is good enough depth to go forward.
I've got a question, mate. Since when did we start playing musical chairs on this podcast? You and Paddy
today, apparently.
It's like you're like going out the back to fucking snort lines or something. What are you up to?
For me, it's actually going for a beer. For Paddy, I think it's likewise maybe a leak is what he's taking. We'll pretend it's technical faults. But I think that's a wee benefit we have when there's 3 of us on a podcast, that we can drop it in and out a little bit more freely, whether it be noticeable or mention it on the podcast. For me, going forward, it is definitely a left back and a centre midfielder is definitely what we need. We need to get rid of some of what we all traditionally call deadwood. So Ismaili Soro, Barkas, Ajeti. I'm going to put McCarthy in that hole as well, because McCarthy for me is not an Ange signing. I don't think anybody can suggest for a minute that James McCarthy is an Ange Postecoglou signing, albeit he would have been a good signing a few years ago.
It shouldn't matter if Ange's fingerprints are on a signing, because if it's not working out, then they have to go. It doesn't matter who the culprit was.
Those guys aside, just those 2 positions, left back and centre mid, and keep everybody else that we need to keep. I'd be happy going into next season with that. Just those 2.
Starting from get the Jaguar point. I was telling the viewers that we're playing musical chairs, and I'm kind of wondering what the motivation is for people to pop out the podcast right now.
At this point, we may as well just open up and see, does anybody want to join us?
Red Scotland got it in fucking point. But listen, I was going to ask you, right? See, when I know that. Aye, but listen, I think we're getting a wee bit too far ahead of ourselves now, talking about who's going to come in, who's going to come out. We've still got 3 games to go, and we're still going to be using the same squad, right? But what I was going to ask you was your two guys' opinions. So at the start of the season, when we had the Eddie Howe debacle, we had this unknown guy coming in, Ange Postecoglou. We then signed 12 players. We had the turnaround. We had a couple of games at the start, and it was really it was promising. Apart from the Hearts game, obviously, which was the opener. Excuse me. And then we had the build up to the Aberdeen game, which was for me was a must win. Jota scored kind of the last few minutes. Since then, I think, as I say, we've put every single effort that we've had into this squad, and I think that the guys are completely running on almost empty. Because they have, as I say, it's not been a marathon for this squad. It's been a sprint. Because guys have come in late. They've had to come into a team where it's a brand new team. They've had to all amalgamate. They've had to get into this kind of way of working with Postecoglou. So see when you get to the kind of tail end of the season where it is now, and you see guys like Hatate, who's played, as he says, 2 years worth of football without a break. Guys like Maeda, who's come in after playing a full season in Japan. O'Reilly, who's played at Fulham. I don't think it's totally unacceptable to say that you would expect guys to kind of tail off at the end of the season, especially guys like Maeda, who literally fucking runs his arse off every single game. We just need to fucking bring ourselves together, learn from our mistakes, get the fucking heats back together, listen to Big Ange, because Big Ange will be telling the boys exactly what's to be expected in the next few games, and go out there, put in a fucking solid performance against Hearts at Parkhead, and then go and do it against Dundee United again on the Wednesday. So, in terms of who we need for next season, I'm not too interested in that now. I just want to get this league over the line. Mathematically, I want to hear that fat lady singing in the fucking sky. I want to see us fucking flying that actual flag, and then I want to see us having a title party when we play after we play Motherwell at Celtic Park in the sunshine.
Right. Okay. Well, I think you were about to kind of pose a question as to what would we do to manage the remaining 3 games. You didn't kind of.
Sorry. I'm only a mad pro Celtic rant.
Right. What I would say, okay, I would be in favour of.
Sorry, Gav. There's Sarah Hawkins saying that we win it by beating the Diet Huns, who's obviously Hearts, which is on a week next Saturday.
Right, so I would be in favour of playing Turnbull to see what he can bring to the table. He was very important at the start of the season, and he got injured, of course, and then we've brought in new guys, and the complexion in the midfield has changed, of course, but Hatate, as we said, is blown out of his arse. There's a popular argument that O'Reilly and Rogic cannot play together in the same midfield. Now, we've got the option of Beaton. By all means, play Beaton. But the other person I would throw in, if we don't play Beaton, is Turnbull. Let's bring because he offers something different. He's like a tidy player. He's good at the set pieces and he can shoot from outside the box. So I would play that. And the other thing I would say is, what do you think of giving Abada more exposure for the remaining 3 games? Thought he was. Abada's very hot and cold, but
I think Abada. I was looking at his stats on one of the message boards on Talk Celtic. Conversation came up about Abada, as a lot of conversations do, and I happened to look at some of his stats. See when Abada's actually playing regular starts, he's a goal or assist every game or every other game. He's on form. If you give him regular starts, he's on form. See when you start to bring him off the bench, you notice if you look at his just purely assists and goals, the last 8 or 9 games, I think he's only started maybe 3 games. And it's been sporadic, and he's not done much in the last 9 games or so because he's been sporadic in how much exposure he's got. But see, once you give a guy like Abada 3-4 games in a row, back to back, you start. That guy influences games. The guy is literally, what is he, 14 goals, 9 assists or something stupid like that, and Jota's like 12 and 11, whatever it is. These two as wide men, they are, for me, what Celtic needs. Directness and trickery on each wing, or vice versa wings rather. The argument and the debate is your middleman, and how do you fit Maeda, Kyogo and Giamakis in the front three where you actually really want to play a bad and Jota at the same time?
Yeah, and Timmy kind of echoing that from the beginning of what you were saying about the stats. Abada, whenever he does kind of play regularly, he brings a lot to the table in terms of assists and goals. The stats don't lie. However, whenever you look at Abada, sometimes when he's brought in from the cold, he's not that impressive. So, Paddy, we're talking about the remaining 3 games, and of course, we've got the Diets to play at Parkhead. Who would you want to see? We played Plan A. We did Plan A today. We also did Plan B today with Kyogo up front, then Giacomakis up front. Neither were entirely effective. So who are we going to play up front against the Diet? Who do you think we're going to play? Who do you think Ange will actually go for?
I would need to disagree a wee bit there, Gav. I thought Giacomakis was effective when he came on, and I know he gave away a few fouls and that, but you could see the presence that he brought on when he came on. You know, his hold-up play was good, and it was a different dimension to the play that Kyogo had when he was playing, because Kyogo was literally just pressing down players, whereas Giacomakis was staying central. He was trying to bring other guys into it. You know the script, mate. He's a proper fucking centre forward. I think for me, I would need to drop Hatate. Hatate had an absolute stinker today. Regardless of whether he was fit or unfit, it was shocking. And I don't want to be too overcritical of anybody today, because it's still a day where we should be positive. But in terms of the next game, I would like to see probably Beaton coming on, because I think Hearts will try to kind of model themselves on the Huns in terms of having players in midfield that will come in and try and stick the boot in, try and have a bit of dig. So for me, Beaton, when he's played in midfield this season, he's brought a bit of calmness about. Even if he's no flying into tackles or fucking throwing guys at the road, he still shielded the ball well. When he's took possession of the ball, he's still kind of no slowed it down, but he's accepted the pace, and he's able to turn it and then bring other guys in. I would like to see McGregor pushing forward into midfield, further forward up midfield. Sorry.
It's been a while. It's been a while since I've said this, but I think Beaton is calm as a hen to the cow.
Yeah, he is.
I love that phrase.
But there's Joe Agnew with the perfect comment as well. Something that I want to see eradicated through our play to an extent. Joe Agnew passing in the box looks lazy. Yep, I think we're very, very slow at times. There was a couple of times that we put ourselves under.
There really was.
Very much.
At least twice by Joe Hart. There was very much. I felt confident enough. I never felt apprehensive like you did with Barkas or De Vries or anybody like that. I kind of have faith in Hart, but there was 2 or 3 times that ball got passed to Hart. He took a bit longer than you wanted him to, and he made a couple of passes. It's like you just linger on that ball a little bit too long in the back position. And for me, I don't know if it's an Ange thing. I don't know if it's just the players being a bit too cocky. Sometimes you need to put the laces through the ball and just get up the park, clear your lines as such.
We did that a few times. Do you guys remember? I was thinking back to like the 1990 World Cup. I think it was that Colombia keeper. Remember that Colombia keeper, the guy who did the scorpion?
Rene Higuita.
The guy who did the scorpion kick. But do you remember one time he get absolutely done? He played the sweeper keeper in one of the World Cup games. I think it was like the 1990, and he get completely done. He made an arse of it, and I was just remembering that. But that kind of leads me on to another question, and I did actually raise this question a few weeks ago on the podcast. I think we fully expect, or well, I would not be surprised if Ange did his homework on another goalkeeper during the summer, or if he's not already pinpointed a guy right now, a goalkeeper who's very, very comfortable. Call it a poor man's Ederson. Ederson, who plays for Man City. A poor man's Ederson. So
there's. Oh no! Sorry, wrong one. Feed the bell, where is he? Sorry, I brought the wrong one up there. Talk about René Higuita.
Okay. I'm sorry. I picked up the other one. Who get charged by a cow in India with horns? Fucking hell, man.
Kieran.
Who get charged by a cow in India?
Are we not, just to bring it back to the goalkeeper situation then, Gammon, are we not, I'm sure there's a rumour kicking about us trying to sign a goalkeeper. It's no the Bodo Glimt guy. I think that's the winger that we're looking to be rumoured to be signed, but I'm sure there's a goalkeeper that we're highly rumoured to be linked with, which is interesting how much links we're getting, because let's all assume that Joe Hart is the number one goalkeeper next season. I think he's got a couple of years on his contract anyway. And Bain just signed a 4-year deal, did he not? So,
Aye.
Where does that leave Bain? Because I can't believe that we're going to sign somebody to play proper backup to Joe Hart, be that cup games and rotation or whatever it is, but still have Scott Bain, who is 30 now, 29, 30, and he's, where does that leave Bain? Do we look, if we bring in somebody else, yes, to replace Barkas, because Barkas needs to fuck off. But if we bring somebody else in, where does that leave guys like Toby, the B squad player? And where does it leave Bain? Because we can't have 3 in that ilk.
Can I just say that, building on this kind of overall point, I think, see, football fans, one of the characteristics is we're guilty of having affection for players. To say, oh no, you can't get rid of him. Look at what he's done so far for us. But Ange Postecoglou, I think, with all due respect, he's ruthless, and I think that's a good thing, because he's going to hopefully lead us to continued success. And I would not be surprised if he has already pinpointed someone who's good, like a goalkeeper who's good with the ball at his feet. And if that type of goalkeeper was brought in, I'd put a cat amongst the pigeons. And it would be interesting to see. It's a wee bit like Craig Gordon and then Doris de Vries. Remember that scenario that Brendan Rodgers toyed with? I would not be surprised if we saw a repetition of that. Scott Bain, as you rightly point out, he's a bit of a red herring. I don't know if he's just like an insurance policy in case Hart does eventually leave. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a repetition of the Doris de Vries and Craig Gordon scenario. What do you guys think of that one?
Nate, I get where you're going with it, but then it still throws in the argument of how the hell did we give Bain an extended contract? Is it really an insurance policy that if we don't find somebody else this season? Because I have to assume that Joe Hart is definitely a favoured personnel from Ange Postecoglou. I mean, if Ange goes out and literally buys a brand new Clear's Day number 1 and puts Joe Hart onto the bench, I'd be extremely surprised. Even if Joe Hart wasn't an Ange signing, Joe Hart has been absolutely phenomenal as a Celtic signing for a goalkeeper. So we're not replacing Joe Hart, surely.
No, listen, Joe Hart's the number 1 keeper, and he's to stay for at least next season. I think today, again, I don't want to be overcritical. I think the goal that Sakala scored, Joe Hart could have done better.
So I was just reading Frank's comment there, which I assumed was just up on the screen. Was it only a 2-year extension? It wasn't a 4-year deal or anything. It was just a 2-year extension, or does that make it 4 years? I'm not sure. If it's literally just a 2-year extension from as in his deal will be up in 2024. Fine, it makes a little bit more sense. It's a security thing.
Now here's a comment I'm going to bring up as well. Paul McCulloch, how you doing, boss? Join the podcast, lads. Fair play. Need a Wanyama type in midfield. Yeah, absolutely. And again, this kind of harks back to the last 3 games against the Rotten Mob. I don't want to say we've been found out by them, because I don't want to give them that much credit. But to be fair, they really have kind of overrun us in midfield. And again,
I know, Paddy. Between them and I'll call it incompetence refereeing performances. They know how to disrupt our game. I know, but never mind the referee. Never mind the referee. But we do need a combative midfielder who can stop that, regardless of anything else. Somebody
exactly. We all know what the referees are all about, right? We've all got our own opinions. We've all got our own fucking eyes. We know what they're going to do. But still, the referee isn't dictating them impressing on our midfield. The referee is they putting the tactics out. I mean, the referee fucking actually tackled one of your players today. I think it was O'Reilly, but
he tried on Jota as well at one point.
But regardless of that, they're still bringing in guys like Lundstrom, who is one of the fucking shitest football players I've ever seen. But he's a guy who's going to come in and have a dig. Like Barry Robson wasn't a great football player, but he came in and fucking sorted their midfield out. Paul Hartley wasn't a great midfielder, but he came in and sorted their midfield out because at a time their midfield was totally overrunning over us. They were empowering us, and we brought in 2 guys to combat that. And we've not got that. We've got all your players are all too similar. Like Hatate is what to fucking give him a cuddle when they're on the deck. We don't need that. We need guys that are what to fucking bite their ears off. We need guys that's what to like fucking go and snap their legs. You know
like
that's something that
the most aggressive midfielder we have is Callum McGregor.
Yes, Callum McGregor, who isn't even the most aggressive midfielder in the world.
I know. Well, if you look at his physicality, you know what I mean. He's not the biggest guy, but he's more than the sum of his parts. Whenever you talk about physicality, because he's trying to overcompensate for the people around him and not having any bite. So that's why he plays like a captain. I've got no qualms with McGregor. By the way, today I thought McGregor did have a decent game. But yeah, I agree with you. We don't have that physicality. And it's highlighted even more whenever we play against Rangers. It doesn't seem to be a factor when we play in Europe, but the physicality is certainly there for all to see when we're playing against Rangers, and that's disappointing because that's one of their main strengths, and we need to suss it out one way or another. If we put it down to the Japanese guys are tired, our squad overall are tired, but next season it'll be better, then we'll find out. But right now there's a void. There is a void in the midfield in terms of physicality, and one way or another, it needs to be a.
But that's what I was. It harks back to something that I said earlier on, Gav. You look at how important Vickers has been this season, and he's not a guy that's flying into tackles. He's not getting in and fucking grabbing guys by the throats. Excuse me. He's just getting in and doing what a defender's got to do. He's using his fucking. It's a physical game. He's using his physicality. He's fucking there's guys bouncing off him, and then when it's coming to your midfield, okay, it works great when we're in possession, but see when the other teams are having a go at us and they're controlling the midfield, we don't take control of the midfield. And Callum McGregor is probably the most fucking physical midfielder that we've got. But as I say, he's having to do the job of 2 and 3 guys, and then when the game changes, he's then having to revert back to a kind of more attacking midfielder type. So we need to bring in absolute quality in midfield. And I know Hatate's done a job this season, and I know kind of Beaton's there, but he's still a kind of part player if you want. McCarthy's, the jury's still on him. Ideguchi, we don't know. But there's Stephen Kelly. We need a younger Roy Keane type, someone to rile up and fire up the whole team. I get that, but I don't think we need somebody to rile up the team because we've got that. You see McGregor's fucking. He's dictating the team. You saw him in the huddle. Shite bags. Aye. Everybody's listening to McGregor. But see, regardless of how much football progresses and how much it evolves and it goes into stats and possession and this and that, the fundamentals of football are still there. See if a defender is a big unit, he puts the fear of God into a forward. See if a midfield, your opposition midfield, is taking control of the midfield, you need a guy in there to break it up. And you still need a guy up front to go up and fucking go and rough up the defenders. We've got that with Giacomakis. We've got it at the back with Carter Vickers and Starfelt to an extent, but we've not got it in the midfield. We need to tweak a few things. But as I say, this season and the run up to the end of this season, which is only 3 games, we just need to start taking control of the midfield. We need to go in and boss it, and we're not doing that. We've not done it the last 2 games against this fucking rotten mob, and that's why they've had so much chances and so much this. They've essentially bullied us in midfield, and as the old saying goes, you win the game in midfield.
And by the way, talking about physicality comes in all shapes and sizes. If you talk about Kante for Chelsea and for France. The guy's the size of a flea, but you don't need to buy a bruiser. You're going to be Paddy mentioned quality. Ange is always going to go for quality. Is what Fiete Bear said just there. If you expect Ange to go out and buy a bruiser like a Lundstrom type player, then you'll be waiting a long time for that to happen.
Gavin, that's why I'm using the word combative midfielder more than I've used the player name of Wanyama, which some of the commentators have mentioned as well. I don't think we quite need a bruiser, as you say. We don't need a big dominating guy who's basically just going to let people bounce off him. But we do need a combative, which exactly is what Kante is. We need that. I generally think that is Hatate. Not that Hatate's like Kante. No, not at all. Because we all thought that about Sorrow. I don't think Hatate's a similar player to Kante. But a combative player. Somebody just to nick in there, get in their faces. We don't need somebody to barge them. We just need somebody to harass them and get in them. And then the overall goal from an Ange point of view is obviously to play fucking football at the end of the day. And he's always going to want to play football. He's going to want to impress. He's going to want to entertain.
Paddy, I'm talking about the whole the physicality, that type of player. And it comes in all shapes and sizes. For example, Kante. We hoped that Soro would be that type of Kante player, but obviously he wasn't up to that task. You don't have to sign a bruiser, and if you do think that Ange is going to sign a bruiser, you're going to be waiting a long time. So it'll be interesting to see what Ange does to address that situation, or if that's an interesting thing. Does Ange still expect Cal McGregor to be the number 6 from next season, or does he think Cal McGregor will gravitate to number 8, and does he think he'll have someone else to replace him as a number 6? That's an interesting question.
I don't know, mate, but the good thing is this season that we've actually had Cal McGregor, who's that kind of, you can kind of fit him into any shape in the midfield. You know, one of the best games I've ever seen Cal McGregor play was against Hibs, and he actually played the kind of number 6 role, the quarterback role, if you want to call it that. He sat in front of the defence, collected the ball every single time, and he sprayed it about. And that was in the Brendan Rodgers season when everything was about passing and kind of waiting for opportunities to open up. And McGregor was absolutely brilliant that day, because every single pass, be it a fucking 40-yarder or a 2-yarder, every single one went to a Celtic player's boot and started up the attack with that. But as I say,
I'll tell you on that, Paddy, I'll tell you, I don't remember exactly when that was, but I would love for you to tell me that it was actually when Scott Brown was out and Ryan Christie got a shout into the team in that December.
Oh, Scott Brown was playing.
Scott Brown was playing, fair play. But to bring it back to a couple of comments that have happened way earlier on in this podcast, could Scott Brown come back and all the rest of it, and what our midfield should look like. For me, Cal McGregor is looking fantastic this season, and I mean this with so little disrespect, it's unbelievable. But he's looking so great because he's not having to play next to. I disagree with that one fully. He's looking so great this season because he's not having to play next to Scott Brown. I don't mean that disrespectfully to Scott Brown, but under a Scott Brown leadership, Scott Brown sits so deep that Cal McGregor has to come deep to help Scott Brown, to collect the ball from Scott Brown, and then Cal McGregor tries to go forward. Now we're seeing an almost similar, but not quite as deep a position in the current setup, where we do need somebody like Near Beaton, like James McCarthy at his height, like whoever we want to allude that we need Hatate to be a combative midfielder or something, so that we can allow, if Calmac wasn't in the Celtic side, we wouldn't be talking about Shabbat exactly, would have Scott Brown as a coach. Yes. We need somebody to sit and take that burden of the defensive side, the combative side, out of Calmac's side of the game, so that Calmac can collect the ball, turn, and go forward. There's so many players we have at this club who are technically great footballers. Cal McGregor, David Turnbull, Hatate's a technically great player, O'Reilly, Rogic. Yet they all, and I know not quite all number 10s, obviously they're not all number 10s, but apart from Rogic, every other name there could maybe play a number 10, could maybe play a number 8, could maybe play a number 6, as Callum McGregor would. So there's a fluidity where 4 or 5 players could play in different bits in a two-man midfield. But ideally, Celtic play on the front foot. Ideally, Celtic play to attack. So ideally, Celtic play with the Tom Rogic as a number 10. And we play with 2 midfielders who, one, yes, will be a combative midfielder, not a defensive one, but allow Callum McGregor to then connect it forward. Whereas what we saw previously when Scott Brown went so defensive was that Callum McGregor had to come deeper still to help support Brown, then support into the midfield. But then you lost that literal midfield partnership because Scott Brown was so far back and Tom Rogic was so far forward. We kind of need someone else to combat with him in the middle of the park, if that makes any sense.
Why are we dissecting the tactics of last season? Come on.
No, I'm dissecting it to the point where we look forward to what do we need next season. Preferably Hatate to be exactly that. But is he or isn't he? Don't know. Breton, possibly. Because Breton does sit a little bit deeper. But Breton does not sit as deep as Scott Brown did.
Right. See before we go any further, like, here's a comment for Frank Brown. I'm going to bring this up because it's kind of rings into my ears well. Never mind a bruiser. I know that Ange and his Ange ball is essentially completely not interested in a combative midfield enforcer who can play, and also the same with a real genuine defensive midfielder. And that's the kind of conversation that we're kind of torn in between, Frank, is that we have all grew up in a kind of era of Scottish football.
Neil Lennon, Victor Wanyama era.
Neil Lennon, Wanyama, Robson's, guys that would go in and stick the boot in and use their physicality in that midfield. But this is when it comes back to kind of football evolving. You know, it's harder to get a tackle in now with the fucking booked and sent half, and then you're going to have your VAR on as well. I think for me, personally, myself, I would love a guy like Wanyama who's going to come in and smash every single fucking midfield in the world. I would love that to no end. But I think, just to hark back to your comment, Frank, I think what we're probably going to see, hopefully, is that a player comes in who, almost like that kind of Paolo Maldini quote, that you shouldn't need to make a tackle if you're that smart. You should be in the right area to win the ball before the other player. And a player that's actually in our ranks now, who we heard from fucking Dan Orlocks, the J-League journalist, is Ideguchi, who says that he's a midfielder who doesn't like to go in to a kind of full-blown tackle, but he's a guy who will be in the right position at the right time to break up play. Even though he's not a kind of strong physical guy, but almost like a kind of Poundland Encanti, if you want. That's what I kind of took for it. He might be the solution. He might not be. But me personally, again, I would love to see us go out and sign a Roy Keane, a fucking Wanyama. But I just think there needs to be some kind of balance in the midfield. Because as I say, McGregor for me is being stifled kind of slightly because he is having to go in. He's having to be the guy who, he's having to go in and put in tackles. He's also having to be the kind of metronome of the team. He's having to be the guy that runs forward.
Talking about guys like Roy Keane, Wanyama, give me Scott Brown from about 8 years ago. The Scott Brown who didn't become a third centre-back. A Scott Brown that acted like the right-sided midfielder that we all love. Give me that Scott Brown next to Callum McGregor in this team with O'Reilly or Rogic in front, and yeah, that's amazing. But Scott Brown is not the answer anymore, unfortunately.
Right. Well, there's Robert Gibson telling us it's nearly 1 o'clock in the morning in Sydney. Bedtime for me. Enjoyed the show, lads. Fuck the Huns, we are the champions. Thanks very much for tuning in, mate. Appreciate it.
What I would say is for a midfield, you don't have the luxury of having like 3, assuming it's like a 3 in midfield, which is how we play. You don't have the luxury of having like 3 interchangeable midfielders. You always need to have someone who's predominantly got the characteristics of a defensive guy. If you look at Barcelona, who were the epitome of like free-flowing attacking football, you had your Xavi, you had your Iniesta, but you always have
Busquets.
that.
Busquets was the balance to that midfield, though. He was the guy who would be in that position to go and win the ball.
But that's the thing, right? So take Barcelona, exactly what you're trying to say. I hope take the Barcelona formation of that central midfield three. They never had an out-and-out number 10 like we have with Rogic. We do have that, but they sacrificed the number 10. The out-and-out number 10, the 4-2-3-1, that middle third guy in the three, they sacrificed that for 4-1-2-3. They sacrificed a Rogic for a Busquets because they had the talent of Xavi and Iniesta who would work in tandem with each other. We don't work in tandem in the midfield. We work with
no, for me, no. We're talking about defensive midfielder. And you're talking about number 10. Barcelona had a different complexion because they had a false number 9.
But it's one or the other. It's either a number 10 or a defensive midfielder. You can't have a number 10 and a defensive midfielder because it leaves the central midfielder alone without a proper partnership. Unless you're going to go to a diamond, you need a central midfielder to be partnered. And that's what Xavi and Iniesta did. They partnered each other. One went forward, one went back, and all the rest of it.
You play with three-man midfield. How can you not have a defensive-minded midfielder plus an attacking-minded midfielder?
You can't, not out and out. You can't have a defensive midfielder and number 10 and have one central midfielder. It's too much of a straight line.
It's three.
You need a partnership. You either have one sitting with two working in tandem, or you have one up front and then the two at the back in tandem, and kind of one goes back and one goes forward. You can't have one sitting back and one sitting forward and one in the middle.
Of course you can. You're talking about a three-man. How can you know? You're talking about a three-man midfield and you're talking about three different positions. So 3 and 3.
No, yes and no, but you can't have it so obviously Rogic and a Busquets and a Callum McGregor in the middle. They're three totally different players. Correct.
It's a three-man midfield. Three different
you can't do both. You're stretching the midfield that way as opposed to controlling it in the middle. You're doing this.
It's called balance, mate. It's called balance.
No, that's not balance. Balance is having one of the either defensive midfielder. So you want both ways.
So you want two players
number 10 and yet your defensive midfielders, not defensive.
So you want two players who are the exact same. Is that what you're saying?
No, I want two midfielders, central midfielders, who know how to go forward.
But you're not playing with two central midfielders. You're playing with three midfielders. You're playing with three midfielders.
Not with a defensive and a number 10.
My God, this is pure frying, man. Not here. Look, no. Like I know that.
It's actually in a football context. It's actually a great conversation to have.
Right, see, hold on. See if you're playing. See if you're playing with one man. See if you're playing with one man up front. If you're playing with one man up front, you need a number 10 to go up and be close to that guy. Right? You need a guy sitting in the midfielder and you need a guy sitting behind that.
You need a partnership in the middle. The same way you need a partnership.
You're not just going to be sitting Velcro to one position. Football's revolving. When you're attacking, your defensive midfielder pushes up and moves into that number 2.
This is
and the number 10 moves forward. And when
this is literally the problem we had last season, though, where Scott Brown was a defensive midfielder who sat so deep with Callum McGregor as the actual midfielder, and then Tom Rogic as a number 10 attacking midfielder. There was no actual midfield control. There was no tactics last season. You can't judge. And then either I'll be defending or you can't judge it on. You can't judge it on last season. Last season was an absolute shitstorm. We no fucking formation, no nothing. Last season was basically just go and fucking play wherever you want. Unfortunately, yeah, and
I think whenever people overuse the term number 10 nowadays, because number 10 traditionally was in a 4-4-2 where you had the number 9, you had the number 10 supporting them.
Get Pep in here, he will set you straight.
Right, Paddy. Are you on the booze today? Are you actually boozing or what? Are you still?
Yes, mate. I'm on it. Take it easy. Just on the beers, mate. Just on the light beers.
Is that Bud Light that Jean-Claude Van Damme used to advertise? What was that?
That was Coors Light.
I never drink the light beers, man. I'm on the San Miguel.
Nice.
Since lockdown, I've been alternating between Corona and San Miguel, but my main poison is rum, of course. Aye.
Like a true pirate.
Aye. Right, mate. Hearts drew yesterday. Drew nothing each. So, are you expecting a much of a fight on Saturday for them? We hate Hearts. I hate the jammed Hearts.
Well, I mean, that's Hearts have obviously got one eye on the Scottish Cup final, but again, they're a team who we call them the Diet Hunts for a reason. They like to model themselves on that rotten mob, and they've seen what can happen when you put a physical midfield onto the Celtic midfield. They can overrun you, so they'll probably try and do the same again. So we're going to need a guy with a bit more energy. So, fuck Andy Halliday, he's a fucking prick. But listen, you're going to need to swap Hatate as far as I'm concerned, because he's like a man shot in midfield now. So I would be looking to bring on somebody like maybe Beaton, or even at the worst comes to the worst, at McCarthy, and let the guys like McCarthy, McGregor, and either Rogic or O'Reilly go further up forward, and let a guy sit back and kind of keep their eye on the midfield.
Right, who's available for the podcast next Saturday?
I was just saying this to Paddy earlier on as well. I have stupidly double booked myself in every way possible. I'm doing a big charity walk on Saturday that's basically a marathon. Not as big as Del Boys from the Celtic Supporters podcast event that he's doing his little run to Englandshire. But I'm doing a big walk on Saturday, so I'm going to miss the game. I'm going to miss the podcast on Saturday. And then next week, I'm actually working late, so I'm missing... Unfortunately, boys, I'm missing all the podcasts for the next week and a half.
So it's business as usual then, yeah?
Aye. Pretty much, aye. You're welcome. I guess your presence.
Right, Paddy, I've got a ticket for the game, so I'm happy to just speed back on the motorway, and we can do a pod right after that if you want.
For Saturday, we can listen. Mate, we're under no pressure to go in as soon as the game's finished. We can wait to whoever's available. Yes, absolutely, Sarah. Missing a Celtic match, Judas.
Actually, probably the first one of the entire season, actually, that I've missed properly. But yeah.
But no, listen, there's 140 odd people still watching, so we'll still come on Saturday. What we'll do is we'll get the kind of reminder up on YouTube, and it'll tell you when we're going to come on. So
before then, we still have the Tuesday TikTok.
We've
still got Tuesday TikTok before then.
I was addressing a question there, McGinty.
Sorry, pal.
The reminder. I'm kidding on, mate. The reminder will be up. So on Saturday, you'll see it on YouTube, and it'll tell you when we're going to come on. But as McGinty alluded to there, every single Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, the Jungle Gyms are there for our kind of hourly roundup, where we sit and dissect the whole lot and talk a lot of pish. So,
like today.
If you like that kind of stuff, join in.
I just seen a few comments coming through just now, obviously talking about John Terry, who was at the game today. I love seeing that shit. John Terry would have been an absolute fantastic player at Celtic, and obviously we all dislike Chelsea to a large degree. But John Terry, we can't disagree that John Terry, he was a fantastic player. So would have absolutely loved John Terry at Celtic at any point in his career, and I know the rumours were always there. But seeing that guy at Celtic Park today with the Celtic Celtic scarf and all the rest of it, superb to see. Love seeing that stuff. Any other big football fans who are Celtic fans at the same time, love to see it.
Correct.
I don't have any hate for John Terry. By the way, see, whenever you'll laugh at me, I don't mind getting laughed at for this, but see, whenever Lenny was appointed for the second time, see, round about that time, we were thinking of like potential managers. actually, this was like just after John Terry had retired from football. I was saying John Terry because I knew that he was ambitious. I knew that he was learning like Portuguese and stuff like that, heavily influenced by Jose Mourinho in terms of like being able to talk to players of all different nationalities. I know that he's very, very ambitious, but at that point in time, I thought he was going to be a top manager, and I was saying sign him up, and obviously we went for Neil Lennon. But in hindsight, he went to Aston Villa as a coach, and he's left them. He's not really done much. So it's a bit of a question mark as to what his ambition is as a coach, as a manager. But back at the time, I thought he would have been a candidate myself.
This is maybe a question and a discussion that we should have on the Tuesday TikTok. But for me, that is a good question, a good kind of wonderment as such. Could John Terry be a coach at Celtic? His influence would be good. His experience would be good. Could Scott Brown be a good coach at Celtic? Undoubtedly so. But do they deserve just be in there because of their name?
Another thing
maybe not. But
do their ambitions coincide with our requirements? You don't bring them in just because they happen to be a name or they are a name. For Scott Brown, it'd be great to bring him back into the fold, but at the same time, what does he want to do? And if we were to bring him in as just like a token, like virtue signalling.
Exactly. I mean, I'm done with the token virtual signalling. I'm done with the, no offense, John Kennedy, but I'm done with John Kennedy-esque types getting a job because we feel like you owe you something, or we'll give you a job because you've got a big name rep to you. Unless your name brings something to the club, unless it brings proper experience or brings in a draw or an appeal to get a caliber of player above and beyond, that we shouldn't be giving jobs out just for the sake of it. But see if guys like Scott Brown and John Terry actually have the badges and actually have proven that they are good coaches, potentially to be a decent assistant manager, or furthermore, a decent manager. Sure, let's get them in if we can. But until that day, but that's a whole other conversation, Gav. That's a whole other podcast.
Exactly. Just to kind of brief comment on that, I think Postecoglou has got a very unique shopping list in terms of backroom staff he wants to bring in to complement. And I wouldn't give a fuck if we bring in people who we don't know in terms of names, people who I've never heard of, unknowns. I don't care as long as they fit the bill that Postecoglou has written up. Because in Postecoglou we trust, and for the backroom staff that he wants to bring in, I'm sure it's going to develop and enhance the squad for next season.
Aye. But on that note, guys, anything else to say for today's game, today's podcast, or where we're at? Anybody got anything else to add?
Yes, mate. I've got something.
Go for it.
We've nearly won the league.
Fly the flag.
It's coming. It's coming, mate.
The
flags are getting ironed. The flags are getting ironed and out. They're getting ready to fly.
I have to do this. I have to show this one. I think we accidentally showed it earlier, but we have to show it just one more time. Red Scotland's messaged it quite a lot throughout the afternoon, but it is true. Title number 52, as we all seem to be counting the numbers, is fucking coming home.
Unbroken 52.
Exactly. But on that note, guys, I think we're done.
Yes.
Nobody else has anything else to say.
As we've spoken about before, if you haven't done it, we've got a lot of new posters on the night. Brilliant. Absolutely love it. Thank you very, very much for your involvement. If you haven't done it already, jump on, give us a wee like, follow. We're on Twitter, Jungle Gyms Pod.
We're everywhere.
Fucking
I'm
everywhere.
Active, social media. We're on Discord, we're on TikTok, we're on Twitter, we're on. The only thing we're not on is Instagram.
Aye, fuck it. We're on our social media. You can get us anywhere. Jungle Gyms Podcast. We're on YouTube every Tuesday, 7 o'clock, and then after most games, probably right about after it. So if you like listening to your push, help yourself. Great to have you on board.
All the best, guys. Hail.
And if you're looking for kind of more explicit content, check out Paddy on OnlyFans.
Absolutely. Only thing is it's